The bracket stage of the Classic Tetris World Championship was nothing short of a spectacle. The qualification stage already showed what the scene was capable of, but watching those same players go head to head to determine the 8 bracket finalists proved even more exciting. In this video, I'm going to go over the first weekend of play, discussing 5 highlights from those 4 brackets. This is the first part in a 2-part series, so stay tuned. You can find all the VODs on the Classic Tetris Archive YouTube channel, and I'll post a link in the description as well. The first weekend was incredibly exciting. There are many different narratives to look out for going into this set of matches, and the first was about the rolling players in the tournament. Since the past CTWC, rolling has been the predominant headline, so it was exciting to see whether there would be any matches where 2 rolling players would be able to battle it out past the kill screen at level 29 speeds. Over the first weekend, there was a total of 7 rollers, with plenty of potential for 2 of them to meet up in a head-to-head battle. It would take until Group D for this to happen, but this matchup would be one of the most exciting in the entire bracket stage. Hufflepuffus vs Cheese was a match almost half a year in the making. It was then that Cheese showed his rolling ability to a live audience, staging an incredible level 32 comeback against Huff. He took this as a sign that rolling might just be the future, and 5 months later, here he was, showing off the playstyle himself. Cheese was no slouch either, fighting his way through the entire losers bracket with a chance to redeem himself in the double elimination format. Huff had just gotten bumped down into the losers bracket himself, and the two would have to fight for a chance to face Sodium to determine whether or not they'd make it into the top 8. The best of 5 match started out slow for Cheese, with him topping out early in game 1 of the series. He would follow this up with a max out into the kill screen, but it wouldn't even be enough, as Huff would go on to score a 1.17 million. This set up a game 3 where Cheese had the potential to be swept out of the bracket. Here, he would end up giving his all. After doing his best to close a major 6-digit deficit, Cheese found himself in a similar situation to game 2, down by over a Tetris with the kill screen closing in. Here, he transitioned with a cleaner board, and he would put on a show of his own. Huff's efficiency before kill screen would prove to be enough, as despite his best efforts, Cheese could only manage a score of 1.086 million, failing a chase down. He took the game all the way out to level 33, with Huff only being able to watch after getting his own kill screen Tetris. This would go on to be a well-deserved victory, as Huff would beat Sodium, forcing a bracket reset, and then subsequently winning out the bracket in 2 matches. The previous match I showed highlighted a problem that was only just considered in this year's CTWC. Not everyone was able to uncap their score past 999,000. With the use of a Game Genie, a player is able to have their score be displayed past 1,000,000 points. This then gets read through Maxout Club, which is the platform that players use to stream their games to the live feed. From here, Maxout Club is able to revert back to normal numerical values rather than hexadecimal. This process is tricky though, as not all players have ready access to working Game Genies, and therefore had to go with the cap score. This was the case in last year's fully online CTWC, but there was only a few matches where this mattered. For this year's CTWC though, it was a problem, and this problem was realized in many matches, with a notable one being Meme vs Richie. Both players had the ability to win just about any bracket in the tournament, with both Meme and Richie having the ability to put up consistent 1.1 million scores. This made just about every game have the potential to require additional calculations, since Richie did not have a Game Genie. This didn't really matter if one player maxed out, but when both did, it significantly slowed down the transition between games. Games like Game 4 in their first meeting were borderline nail-biters, with officials determining that Richie had won by just 4,000 points. This made this level 29 Tetris crucial to Richie's win, right as his board was piling up with significant garbage. Meme would go on to beat Ruins in the Game 5 decider, but in the rematch during the bracket finals, Richie would be in his strongest form yet. After beating CTWC veteran Corian in yet another decider, Richie had one path to claim a spot in the top 8. Beat Meme in a best of 5 match to reset the bracket, and then beat Meme once again, sending them out of the losers bracket, and giving Richie a Group B victory. Richie would end up performing the Immaculate, sweeping Meme in both of their sets. Despite this, it's not like Meme played poorly whatsoever. In fact, 4 of the 6 games played involved double max outs, with Meme scoring 1.1 million 3 of those times. In the end though, Richie's kill screen abilities put him over the top, just narrowly beating Meme by the slimmest of margins in a fair bit of those games. This led to tedious work calculating the scores, with officials resorting to a program written in Scratch to help calculate the scores past a max out. Thankfully, the process to add up those scores past max outs was streamlined in the following week, but it remained as a running joke during most of the tournament, and it ended up being an interesting footnote. One other thing Ruins did was set the CTWC record for highest score in a match on that first Saturday, with him posting an incredible 1.28 million during his first game against Meme. That wasn't even the first score record set on that day of the tournament. Hydrant Dude had already established himself as a favorite for not only his bracket, but the entire tournament. But out of nowhere, it would be his opponent Lewis who had produced the fireworks in his CTWC debut. After getting off to an incredible pace, he would continue piling on the points, transitioning to level 19 with nearly 700,000 of them. He kept up the efficient play, maxing out into level 26, and since he didn't have a Game Genie either, we wouldn't know his true score until after the fact, but everyone watching knew that he was on pace to do something special.
Just about a 1.2, maybe 1.25, I'm not 100%
Luis,
sure. But
he's still burning.
Lewis would go on to achieve not only his personal best, he also set the then CTWC record with a score of 1.23 million points. This smashed the record of 1.15 million set by Dog in the previous CTWC. This was just his first game in the whole tournament, and he was just a 57 seed. Just a year prior, there were players in the top 64 who had never even maxed out, but this year, a bottom seed was able to perform just about as good as anyone in the entire tournament. After losing a decider to the bracket favorite, this wouldn't be the last of Lewis. He would proceed to storm through the losers bracket, getting a chance to rematch Hydrant to decide which of the two players would face Nano in the bracket finals. Stunted by fatal misdrops, Hydrant fell behind, with Lewis taking the match 3 wins to 1. Unfortunately, Lewis would not be able to complete the Cinderella run, with him falling just short to Nano, who was able to seal his fate as a repeat top 8 player in the CTWC. Despite all of this, he had proven that the seed number did not fully represent a player's given potential, with Lewis finishing by far the highest relative to his seed. He wasn't the only low-seeded player to make an immaculate run either. DMJ, who was the lowest seeded player in the tournament, also proved what he was capable of. He barely squeaked into the main bracket, but was forced to play none other than the world champion, who got an incredible 12 max outs in his qualifier. In their first game though, you could hardly tell which seed was which, with DMJ holding the lead through most of the post-transition. He unfortunately lost steam. With a cascade of misdrops, Dog took the first game. Dog used this momentum to his advantage, sweeping DMJ. That last game, by the way, was a double max-out game. Just like with Lewis, DMJ wouldn't let the second chance match be his last. He swept the DAS Phenom Quaid, and then followed this up with defeating Dut Asian in 4 matches. Against Jerpy Dude, he unfortunately fell behind, but his Game 3 showed what he was truly capable of. Stunted by a drought, his stack fell to disarray, but his smart burning helped him pull through.
Bring it down.
Oh, barely.
This is incredible survival
Holy
from DMJ.
crap, what a dig!
Somehow, DMJ managed to dig out. Even Jerpy Dude was a bit stunned. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be enough for him to stage a comeback, but that dig on level 23 left a lasting impression, and DMJ would certainly be one of the fan favorites from that first weekend. In that very same bracket, PokeNerd would go on to experience 2 rather different events during his time in the tournament. The first was actually not related to the game of Tetris. At the tail end of his second game versus the Asian, PokeNerd began to feel what was the beginning of an earthquake. It wasn't apparent early on, but he definitely knew something was up. In an interview after the fact, PokeNerd described what it was like to experience the earthquake.
I was like sitting in the couch that I'm sitting in right now. I was on like level 25, I think. And I just heard like a weird window cracking sound. And I was like, what is that? Because I've never experienced a actual noticeable earthquake except this one. Yeah, I just realized that it was an earthquake and I was yelling, there's an earthquake in the cam, but I guess nobody noticed that.
Wouldn't you know it, the earthquake happened to be a magnitude of 6.2. I mainly wanted to bring this up because of how its anomalous nature coincided with the once-in-a-year CTWC, and how despite this, PokeNerd pushed through the confusion to end up regaining the lead and taking the game in the end. This wouldn't be the only groundbreaking event of the day that PokeNerd would be a part of, either. Dog proved how he was still a contender, storming through the winners bracket, facing PokeNerd in the bracket finals. He had already beaten him earlier in the day, but nobody could have expected how exciting their first game would end up being. Both players transitioned to level 19 with exceptionally high scores. To get a max out in competition, a player would typically hope for a score of around 550,000 before the speed up. It was clear that the players in question weren't just satisfied with a max out. Through the transition, both players weren't even close to letting up, with both of them maintaining 80% Tetris rates. Dog maxed out at the start of level 25, leaving 3 levels to push his score even further. PokeNerd wasn't far behind, so it would be a fight to see who could push the boundaries of the tournament the furthest. Dog Tetris into the kill screen to secure the tournament record and first ever 1.3 million in the CTWC. PokeNerd was right behind, so it would end up being nothing short of a nail-biter.
That's at this
Oh
point.
no! So
1
Dog
point.
tops out at 1.3. PokeNerd is continuing to
PokeNerd.
go. He's going.
Kill screen play is a factor. It is happening.
And all Dog can do is sit. He's got
1.3.
1.3.
Oh,
and he can't get it.
points.
He doesn't have it.
10,000 points.
Can you
oh
believe
my
it?
goodness.
It took 30 years for the first ever 1.3 million game to happen.
Yes.
2 more years for the first ever 1.3 million in the World Championships, and a little over 30 seconds for the second ever 1.3 million in the CTWC. This game beat the CTWC score record, highest combined score, and highest losing score ever in competition. Once again, it was a shame that only one of these players was moving on, and that would end up being Dog, with him sweeping PokeNerd. Still, PokeNerd's performance was nothing short of immaculate, and he certainly showed his strength with him being one of the first players to pick up rolling. It was a shame to see him knocked out, but if there was anyone to do it, it had to be the reigning world champ. Thank you so much for watching. There's no way that I could cover every detail from that weekend in this video alone, so definitely check out the VODs, as well as the videos that will be posted on the official Classic Tetris channel. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like, as it helps out a lot, and stay tuned for part 2.